Welcome back to the MMA Plug, presented to you by the Talk of Colorado on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio. I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz, sitting here alongside UFC middleweight, the Big Yins, Josh Friend. We have a special guest with us here in the studio this evening. We have the Bosnian Silverback, Haris Talundzic, who will be headlining the LFA 141 card in Vail, Colorado, next Friday night on September 9th. You can check him out live at the Dobson Arena or on UFC Fight Pass. Haris, thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Thank you, Jordan. I'm excited to be here. Josh, it's good to see you, brother.
Oh, good to see you, buddy. Especially after the story you just told us. We're not going to go into it, but boy. Stifler would be proud.
Real knee slapper.
Yeah, crazy story.
So, Haris, as you're getting to these last final days of camp, you know, it's the last couple days of the push before you taper into fight week and getting prepared for all of the things that go along with that, from the media to the interviews. This is the first time that you, on a major promotion like the LFA, your name is on the poster, you're on the marquee. It is your event. You are the build superstar of this card. What does that feel like?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, I gotta admit, I want to say I'm super excited and super surprised, but I'm a big visualization guy, just like a lot of, athletes are. And to be 100% honest with you, man, I've been visualizing this type of moment, LFA, UFC main events, since I started fighting. I know it sounds crazy and delusional, but I've really been visualizing this kind of moment for a long time. So now that it's finally happening, it just feels like everything I thought that was going to happen is coming to fruition. Manifestation is real. And my hard work is finally coming to fruition. I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor. I'm getting a headline on a major card, and yeah, man, it just feels like I'm exactly where I belong.
Certainly.
Love to hear that. And it's like they say, like, if your dreams don't scare you, then you're not dreaming big enough. So that some people would say delusional, but then they're just dreaming small.
Absolutely.
They're not dreaming exactly with what their potential could be. But Harris, moving on for this, the other side of the fight, your opponent, you're facing off against Chris Brown from Jackson Wink. Is this going to be your toughest opponent? Is this your toughest test?
Yeah. I think Chris Brown is definitely going to be the toughest opponent. Just if I look at him overall, his skill set, his gameness, his approach to MMA, his confidence, all those little things, that play a big deal. We know it's a lot of mental in there. And I look at Chris Brown as a really well-rounded fighter. I think he's game. He's never been finished before. He's only ever lost close decisions to really tough guys. So I think he's definitely the most experienced, and I would probably put him as the toughest. I thought maybe Batalate, the last guy I fought, was tougher, but the more I've done, my research and stuff, I got to put respect where it's due. I think this is my toughest fight yet.
Certainly, and if you take a look at it just from the resume standpoint, I would happen to agree with you there. He's fought guys. If you just look at the overall strength of schedule, guys that are either UFC or Ultimate Fighter vets, such as Ignacio Bahamondes. He's fought Carrington Banks. He's fought Thomas Gifford. What does having a win against a solid veteran who has a lot of skin in the game with the experience like he has, what does having that sort of name and win on your record mean for you going forward?
I think what it means for me is it shows the world, and most importantly, Uncle Dana White, that I'm ready for the UFC. I'm ready for the big leagues. I'm at that level. I'm ready to start making a little bit more money. I'm ready to quit my side job and focus just on training, because I'm just as good as those guys in the UFC. And I think having a win on Chris Brown shows the world that I'm there. I'm ready to go.
Now, from a practical standpoint, that puts you at 6-0.
Yep.
You're still young in that sense. Welterweight is a very emerging division right now. There's a lot of young talent out there, especially your Michael. His name is the young Colombian kid who's his parents were the judo black belts. We've talked about him a ton on this program. But
Morales.
Yes. Yeah. There's a ton of just young talent there. But at this stage, do you think that call comes next after this, or do you think that it's maybe one more at the LFA level for potentially like an LFA belt, or does it come full circle around maybe an LFA belt that contenders? Like, what do you think from a obviously best case scenario, go out, get a finish right away, and boom, the way that you know how to rock a mic, show all the confidence out there. We know that you're not shy on that side of things, but that opportunity can, created and presented at any point. But from a realistic and practical standpoint, what is Harris's expectation of the results coming away from this?
Yep. Okay. Well, and the UFC is obviously what I shoot for and I wish for, and that's obviously the ultimate goal. But I think from a logistical standpoint, if the UFC wasn't interested, or say I'm just not ready, determining, based on how I perform in the fight, yeah, I could see me fighting for the LFA belt next. I'd love to do that. I honestly thought that's what was going to happen next after the June 4th bout, was I was going to be fighting for the LFA belt. For whatever reason, that didn't come to fruition, and that's okay. I understand things in the fight game aren't as clear as everyone thinks they are. So, I mean, if I don't get the UFC call or an opportunity to get a short notice fight in the UFC, I would be more than happy to take a fight and fight for the LFA again and fight for the title. That'd be a dream come true, man. I think to have a little amateur belt like I got at home, and then the LFA belt, and then someday the UFC belt. I think having all three of those would be a really cool thing to have on my bookshelf.
Absolutely. We've talked about it ad nauseum on here too, that LFA title typically grants a call.
It grants a call. It grants an opportunity. It grants everything you ever wanted. Harris, we talked about this at practice today, and we just putting the positive mantra out there of you're going to go out there and get a finish. You're going to get the call. And this being your first main event for LFA, all eyes on you, posters they're talking about, you got Ron Kruk, you got a nice little intro with your name on it. Like, I remember my very first main event with LFA. I was feeling that pressure the night before, and I had, coach talk to me, had to put me on the straight and narrow when it comes to the mental aspect. But you, on the other hand, are very confident, and the way that you handle pressure. You said something of pressure is a privilege. Can you just explain to people your mindset and what that means to you?
Yeah, I think you worded it pretty good there. Pressure is a privilege, and we talk about that a lot at our gym, Factory X. Coach Mark, sometimes people think or get, misconstrued that he puts a lot of pressure on us and it's a bad thing. But, you got to think, a guy like Coach Mark, who's been in the game for decades, since the beginning of the MMA, if he's putting pressure on you, a guy who knows everything about MMA there is to know, that's a blessing. You got a guy who knows everything there is to know about the sport, and he's putting pressure on you to do big things. It's because he believes in you. And it's not false belief. When a guy like Coach Mark believes in you, or you have a good coaching staff that believes in you and they put pressure on you, it's a blessing, because it means you're special. It means people believe in you. They believe you can do something that other people can't do. And so I think for me, yeah, I look at pressure as a blessing. I have always looked at it as a blessing. I look back at every time I've been nervous for a fight, and I think, it's funny. I get so nervous before fights like everybody else, and I get in bad positions in fights, but every single time I get in a bad position, I find a way out. I'm a cleaner. I live, breathe, eat this sport. So if there's a bad position that I find that I'm weak in, I work it and I find a way to be better in it. And so when I get into fights and stuff, it seems like all that nervousness and stuff was just fabricated, and the pressure's all fabricated because I always find a way out of these bad spots. And so I think the night before and the day of the fight, I sit down, I really think about it, and I think about the past and how I've always reacted to pressure. I've always pulled through. I've always found my way out of bad spots, and it just grants, it just makes me so confident. I just think, and I'm like, I've never failed under pressure. I've never failed in a bad position. Why would I not be confident? And going into these fights, I think more and more about it, and then I just feel like an unbeatable machine by the time the cage locks.
Very well said.
That's very well said. Very well said. I do have one more question here.
Let's go, Ben.
We have a couple more, but I have one more here particularly. Just a big brother, my little guy here. So I have this envisioned in my head. I have this really cool picture of me leaving the cage in Vail last year with you on my back, we're cheering, we're all pumped up. How does it feel being, and we've asked this in that way, being the main event after going in and rocking that Vail arena last year. Just you were there already. You've been there. You know what it feels like. You know what it's going to sound like, the smell, everything. You've been to Vail. How is that going to play out for you? What is that going to be for you that night?
It's going to be one of the most special nights of my life. I mean, it feels spiritual, in a way. It's like it's just crazy how fast everything happened. Like you said, that picture, man, I remember that night clear as day. That was one of the best nights of my life also, not only me winning, but you know how it is when you see
the
your
team
team
wins. Yeah.
And then you're the main event. You're the star of the show, and you win. Dude, it was one of the best nights of my life. And now it's like, it's weird how it's my turn now. And I kind of knew back then even, I was like, Josh is paving the way for me, and I'm paving the way for the next guy. But at the same time, it's like you get that imposter syndrome. You don't want to accept it when it comes sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of got that a little bit for a few weeks. It was like 2 weeks when I first realized I was going to be the main event. Those first 2 weeks, I got a little bit of imposter syndrome because I just was like, there's no way it happened so fast. And now I'm in the position Josh was in, and I know what happens after you're the main event in the LFA. Life goes fast.
Yeah.
I've seen guys be the main event for the LFA, do successfully, and I've seen what's happened in their lives. And knowing that and having that pressure and knowing it's right there, man, it took me a while to realize, like, I earned this, I deserve this, and it just feels like an honor now, man. That's the best way to describe it. It feels like an honor that, the LFA sees the potential in me and the potential I've always seen in myself. And, yeah, man, I feel like I've earned this. And it's crazy to be in the shoes that you were in. And, thanks for paving the way, Josh.
You said it best, man. You earned it. And this is not given. Go check the stats, baby. Check the record. And I'll even be honest, after you won in Denver, this right here shows exactly who you are as a person. You won in Denver, had a phenomenal performance in the co-main event. Guess who went out and celebrated? Not this guy. He dropped off our buddies. I went out and celebrated for him. He was at the truck. I was like, "Oh, you're not going to come like celebrate?" He's like, "Nah, man. I'm going to go eat some good food, hang out with my girl, and enjoy the night." That right there is a definition of I eat, sleep, and breathe this. So earned, not given.
I appreciate you, Big Ends.
Certainly. Folks, as we tie this up here with the Bosnian Silverback, Harris Talundzic, who will be headlining that LFA 141 card next Saturday night. Harris, is there anybody out there that you want to shout out, and where can people follow you?
Yep. Shout out to my family, man. My mom, my dad, my brothers. I know they're watching. My girlfriend. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to Coach Mark and everybody at Factory X. Shout out to Jordan Kurtz, man. Always hooking it up with exposure and taking care of all of us guys at Factory X. And, yeah, check me out on Instagram. First and last name is my Instagram. Same for the Twitter. And don't add me on Facebook because I won't accept your request if I don't know you.
Alrighty, folks, stick around after the break. Josh and I are going to go 3 rounds. This is the MMA Plug presented to you by the Talk of Colorado on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio.
Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. That helps us continue to produce this original MMA content and bring it for you every single week. Tune in to the MMA Plug presented by DenverSportsBetting.com on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio on Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 p.m. or live stream at DenverSportsBetting.com/radio.